You're listening to Nothing's Off the Table. No, you're not. That's the wrong music. Wow. See, you got me all confused. Mister, are you okay?
You okay? Call 911. Call
911.
Doing CPR.
Dude,
Keeping it alive.
That just shows you how tired I am right now, man.
Playing the wrong music. I'm over here doing CPR on this thing. Look, I had to do this for Penske.
Hey, he's kind of hot. Can I borrow him?
Look at this thing. Dude, that's the spookiest thing.
That is very creepy.
Night.
What?
You muted me.
No, I hear you just fine.
Really?
Yeah. Really? How am I answering your questions?
That's a good question because I can't hear nothing.
What did you? Oh, see, you got too. You got too overzealous with the old staying alive there.
Hear me now. There we go.
Oh.
The dummy.
Don't talk about me that way. How dare you?
All right, but I had to do CPR. That's the spookiest thing ever. So, all right, welcome to the show tonight, everyone. This is now that we played the wrong music coming in, and now that we're doing CPR, what we're really here to talk about tonight, and I'll introduce it because Doc normally says something when we first come in, is we're going to talk about podcasting and how not to come into a podcast, and that's how you don't come into a podcast, playing the wrong music. And do you see Laurel's comment?
He needs a death doula. So that bears
kept him alive.
That bears the question: Did I do that on purpose or did I not? Considering the topic
is how to podcast. How to podcast. Well, you're the expert. You know, you produce all our shows. You produce multiple shows for a lot of people. So what we're going to talk about is one, you've created a group inside. Well, we have a podcasting community. Two, you've created a course on podcasting. And a lot of that is based off things that you and I or you have observed and things you've learned over time. And I think that that's going to be good to really kind of go over and talk about just podcasting and what you're going to be teaching inside of this community and how to do it.
Yeah, everything I have learned has all been trial and error. I have screwed up a lot of stuff, let me tell you. As a matter of fact, in the jiu-jitsu community, we say you either win or you learn.
Yeah.
Well, let's just say I'm highly educated at this point. We're talking doctorate level, baby.
Doctorate level learning.
So, I have started, all right, so several podcasts. My very first podcast that I started was basically, it was a niche podcast. And it was all about, it was martial arts, but it was about judo and Brazilian jiu-jitsu pretty exclusively. And the problem with that is after, 2-3 months, it all started sounding the same.
Yeah, and so covered everything.
Yeah, and so we would bring in different guests like we do now. A lot of pretty high level practitioners in the sport, but it was still a lot of the same. So I found that I wanted to talk to more people about different things. And the inaugural podcast that I started was called Throwing Down with Andy. And so
go ahead and call it Beating Andy's Ass.
Well, if you feel froggy, jump. Just saying. But I found with the name like that, I was pretty much stuck.
Yeah.
So I decided to kind of shelve that. And then I came up with the Nothing's Off the Table podcast. That way I could talk to anybody about anything that I wanted. And I didn't have to worry about, hey, is it going to match the theme of the show or whatever the case may be. But so I started that back in 2018, I think. And we're still going.
Yeah. Yeah. Cause you can pull up anybody, you can pull up authors, you can pull up people that are, you name it. Like, what are what's some of the topics that you've talked through in that, some of the more interesting ones?
Wow. I'll start with the weirdest one I've ever had. And that was, I I can't make this up, and it's going to sound like an episode of the Springer Show, but I'm telling you, it was a transgendered male to female former soldier who is now a sex worker. And I didn't know about the sex worker part until the interview started.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Conveniently left that one out
Yeah.
on me.
Yeah.
And it was so bizarre.
Which will lead to some of the topics to talk about of your courses, show preparation and all that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So that was by far, hands down, the weirdest one I ever had. I had a gentleman on who's a retired Navy SEAL by the name of Don Shipley, who you may or may not have heard his name before, but he's famous for going out on YouTube and busting all the phony SEALs.
Yeah.
So
wow.
That's probably my most popular. Yeah, about over 50,000 views on that one.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was a fun one. I've had authors, I've had comedians, I've had Nick DiPaolo on, who's a comedian. I don't know if you're familiar with him or not, but that show was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I've had paranormal investigators on.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've had individuals that are into polyamory on. I've had politicians. One time in the whole time I've been doing podcasting, I have a guest leave in anger.
No kidding. I didn't mean to. I really didn't.
Yeah, well, we need to talk about that later. Yeah, so this was a gentleman who was a very left-leaning individual. And when he came on, one of my co-hosts mentioned the name Trump, and he went ballistic. I'm not kidding you. Everything was great. The pre-show was great. Everyone was laughing, joking, and everything. And one of my co-hosts brought up one statistic from the Bureau of Labor, and this guy lost his mind.
And left.
Threw his phone, called us Nazis, assholes, fascists. I'm like, bro, it was a question, man.
Mm-hmm.
And so that, yeah, one time ever I've had a guest walk out on me, but ended up being pretty funny afterwards, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, so yeah. I've run the gamut.
Yeah, that's cool. Nothing's off the table. That's kind of a cool thing to think about when you're naming your podcast. That's a great lesson, actually.
Absolutely.
Cool. That's pretty cool. Yeah.
I'm going to try to pull up here while I'm not ignoring you, I promise.
No.
But we've kind of revised. It's been a struggle. I'm not going to lie, because there was a time where I actually shut down Nothing's Off the Table for about, pretty close to a year.
Yeah.
And I decided that I wanted to bring it back. And the reason that I shut it down is that my vision and my co-host visions were not matching up for what I wanted to do with my show. So it was nothing personal. I still talk to those guys all the time, and I shut it down because I didn't like it. And then I had a lot of people ask me, well, when are you going to bring it back, and this, that, the other, and I really did miss it. So I came back. I completely revamped it, which is why I'm excited to bring this course to you guys. I have set standards for myself and my co-host. We have segments throughout. And if I could shut up long enough, I could get to the page I'm trying to get to. So, but anyway,
podcasting is important. While you're trying to get to where you're getting at, I think I'll talk about it as far as, Convene and what we're doing. It literally is, it's a business builder. If you're somebody who's a content creator, it's one of the best ways that I think you can get your message out there. We do the podcast, we do it live. We go on, Tuesday nights for the wellness for us. We do it tonight. And, I had people texting me today, shot me messages today that watched the podcast. Now, did they watch it while we were doing it? Some did and some didn't. But it was, you're getting views all the time. I talked to another buddy of mine today I hadn't talked to in many, many years. And he said, wow, Convene must be doing really good. I see the podcast, is what he said. On Facebook. So more people notice than you actually might realize. And so it is if you're a content creator, somebody with a business, it is a true business builder, and it's fun too.
Oh, it's definitely fun.
Yeah.
You can make it as serious or as, inject as much levity into it as you see fit. And it's a chance for you to not only promote what you're trying to sell, your business, whatever the case may be, but it's a chance to inject your personality. Have fun with it,
Do CPR.
Yeah, you could do CPR and you could hit the wrong music when you come into the intro of the podcast. It's your podcast. Do what you
That's
want.
right. Yeah, that's right.
Anyway, so I finally got it figured out here what I wanted to do. In Convene, I've been a member for 4 years this year, and
right.
finally getting around to building something.
Yeah.
I didn't know, I wanted to support, but I didn't feel at the time I had anything to really share. So I wanted to be the background guy supporting everybody. But now I found a way that I can still support people and help them grow as well.
Yeah.
So we have started the podcast community. Well, actually, we didn't start it. It's been around for a little bit, but I just started this group right here.
You took over as the community leader, and we pulled it out of what I call the archive because it wasn't really up and running, and now we're off and running, and you've worked hard the last 2 weeks. I'll let everybody know that. This has been built in the last 2 weeks, so you can't say that you can't do it because this man is doing it.
Right. So I'm going to take everyone, and should we give a sneak peek of everything, or should we?
Yeah, I say we at least give a sneak peek and talk about what's going to be in here and what you're talking about.
All right. So, this is standard. I'm not going to read this for you guys, but this is a course I put together. You can come in and read it. Who should join here? We'll go over that part. Who should join? Aspiring podcaster with little or no experience, enthusiasts interested in the basics of podcast creation, an individual is curious about podcasting but unsure where to start. And then you can read down here for yourself.
Well, the bottom line is like people don't know where to start. Like you just said, that last part. People don't know where to start. They haven't. I say it about Convene all the time. People have an idea. They have something they're passionate about. They want to podcast. They don't know what to do. They just don't know how to do it. So let's go through that.
Yeah. So I've created 7 subgroups, which are the basic lessons here. And as you can see here, this one is obviously
Why don't we
extreme.
talk through each of them a little bit? I think that'll be good.
So essential podcasting gear. It sounds so simple and basic that it shouldn't even be a course. However, if you don't know where to begin, this is where you begin. And the great thing about podcasting is you don't have to have all the high-end gear right up front, right? A simple microphone, a set of headphones. If you have a USB mic, you plug it right into your computer, you can go. And from there, you're going to need some kind of way to record your show if you're not going to do it live. For example, here we do our show live, but then I post a copy of the show afterwards. So for those that can't make the live version, they can come in and check it out later. Anyway, So this is, it goes from a very basic list all the way to, hey, I've been doing podcasting for a while, and I'm ready to step up my game with a little more higher end equipment.
Well, let's talk about that, because what are some of the big mistakes that you see when people are just getting into it when it comes to like the sound, lighting, all that?
Yeah, absolutely. So once you've decided and you're pulling that trigger, you're going to start your podcast. It's exciting. I get it. And everybody wants to start like yesterday. However, there are a few basics that you have to get down before you start. Otherwise, you are not going to be successful. And those are very simple: sound and lighting. I can get away with lighting, but I can't get away from the sound. If you don't have the proper equipment that we're going to go over in this course, then don't rush to start your podcast, because the audio will be crap. And I'm good at what I do, but I can't fix everything. You know what I mean? Knowing and what comes along with sound, obviously you need a good recording software. You need a quality microphone, but you really need to pay attention to your surroundings. If you are in a wide open space with a lot of chance for reverb and echoing, it's not a good space to be in.
But you can fix it.
You can fix it.
Some of it.
Some of it,
How would
yes.
you do that?
I would go to a different space in
Well,
that
yeah, but
case.
if that's the only space you had, what are some of the things you could do?
Honestly, with how important sound is, if that's the only space you have, I would highly encourage you to look for another space.
Sure.
You know, when I started out, this is going to be funny. Watch your jokes. I podcasted in one of our bedroom closets
Yeah.
because it was the only place that I could get away at the time. This is in Japan. That I could get far enough away from everyone else and actually have a quality sounding recording, because back then I wasn't doing both video and audio. I was only doing audio.
Yeah.
So from that perspective, sound is even more important. That's the number one issue, I would say.
Yeah. I guess what I'm getting at too is like if you just have a little bit, like if it's just a room,
Yeah,
you can put
there's
on
there's a
one walls and different things like
absolutely.
that. Yeah.
Absolutely. There's treatments that you can put on the walls. You've got your sound panels, your bass traps, and we cover all of that. But that is essential, and
Yeah.
that's got to be your number one priority because, well, let's just say, for example, we're not doing a video podcast. It's only audio. Well, if somebody's riding down the road listening to you on Spotify or something and your audio is garbage, they're not
They're
going to
out.
listen.
Yeah. They're out. They're not staying. That's for sure. Yeah. So equipment's number one. You got to get good equipment. You got to invest. It doesn't cost that much money. I mean, you can go up if you want to,
Oh,
but
absolutely.
yeah, you got to just put a little bit of money into a mic. Get some headphones because it really cancels everything else out and all that. So that's awesome. That's something that you need to do. Yeah. So I agree with you 110%.
And you can do it on a budget for sure. You don't have to have anything high end. It's just I put a list of basic pieces of equipment, if you will, that is in the course, and it's linked to Amazon, so you don't even have to go search for it. I've done all the work for you. Um,
Exactly. Exactly. Now, and this is something I think I'll be honest with you that when we came back and I started back doing the podcast back with you, I used to just do it myself. And it worked okay. It was good. But when we came back and I restarted it with you, you handed me something that was really good. And that was this piece right here, crafting and structuring the podcast. So talk a little bit about that because it really helped me when we're on this podcast. Most of the time when I'm interviewing somebody who in 3 segments, and we can talk about that, but talk through that.
sure, it's, at the end of the day, it's your podcast. You do whatever you want with it. But if you want to be successful, just like anything else, you have to be organized, right? And that's exactly what we teach in this segment or this module here. The piece of paper or the thing that you're referring to that I gave you was a very simple Word document that I came up with. Um, it structures your podcast for you. You can have as many segments or as few segments as you want, but it gives information on that sheet, like who the guest is, the name, the date, why they're there. For example, in Nothing's Off the Table, at the end of every show, I have a segment that we call Veterans Helping Veterans. And so having that piece of paper in front of me as we're going through the show helps keep me on the time track, and it keeps me where I need to be with regards to either the interview or, hey, time to move on to the next segment.
Yeah.
Vets helping vets.
Yeah. Well, for me, what it did for me is, we're interviewing people that have community and groups and all that with inside of Convene. So the ultimate goal of this podcast, just like we're doing right now, is to actually, you have a podcasting community. We didn't really go into introducing who you are because everybody knows who you are. You're on the show every week. But I get into the first segment is who are you? What do you do? Where are you from? It's an interview about you personally. People get to know you personally. And then segment 2 is, okay, you've built something in Convene. You've taken your story, you've taken your passion, and you've turned it into something that is a group or something that you can make profitable in Convene. And we show it. We actually show the group. We show slides. We show screenshots of what you're doing. And so we're going through that. And then normally when we get to the third segment, we transition into Q&A. People from the audience watching on Facebook or whatever, or they can even call in most times and they can call in and ask questions. So it's broken up into 3 segments, which to me, I had not thought about it that way, to be honest, before you introduced that to me.
It's just a way of keeping you on track. That's all it is. It's very simple. There's nothing complicated about it. And the nice thing is that once you get this, you can tailor it to your own needs however you see fit.
Yeah.
I just want you to start thinking about the process is
Well,
all.
let's flip it real quick too, because your guest, when they're coming on, a lot of times your guests, they may not have been on a podcast before. So it's might be their first time, or they have been on podcasts, but they don't know how you do it. So what you're doing by giving this to them is you're saying, okay, this is how we're going to run it. So now they have that expectation, and you talk through it with a pre-show meeting, and you say, hey, this is what we're going to do. So they now it lowers their anxiety. It might let them know what we're going to do and what the agenda is for the podcast.
It's funny you say that because in the course, you'll actually have a chance to download several documents. One of the documents that I use, that I created, is a form that I send to my guests, and I have them fill it out. Mm-hmm. And so that way, in that form, it does tell them exactly like you said, what our show's about. And with the particular questions that I ask, they'll understand and know that's what we're going to be talking about. So they're not blindsided.
Yeah.
And it gives them a chance to put anything in there, too, that maybe, hey, I don't want to talk about this. And so that helps us stay away from embarrassing a guest, because that's something we never want to do. Well, I won't say never.
Yeah, that's true. But I'll say this, too, is that I find that saying, and I don't know if you find this, some guests go, well, tell me the questions you're going to ask me in the order that you're going to ask me. I don't do that.
I don't either.
I will not do that, because a show is never scripted. It's just not going to be. We might be going along, and I might open up with a question, and your answer dictates my next question. Now, I don't mind giving you a flow and saying, hey, we're going to talk about these subjects, but I might go from subject number 1 down to subject number 5 just because the show dictates that. But I'm never going to say, okay, Doc, first question I'm going to ask you is this. Second question I'm going to ask you is this. I don't do it because I find it becomes too scripted and it's not natural.
No, not at all. And people pick up on it quick.
Yeah.
Right. So I want to have a conversation. I don't want to give you softball type questions. I want to find out about you, or why are you on the show? That's what I need to find out and talk about. And I don't want to be the canned, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Let's just a couple people having a conversation. Just
all right. So let's talk about finding guests. I mean, that's the next section.
Yeah.
And that's always not easy for people to do,
This is a very difficult task. There are some tools out there to kind of help make it easy, but you can't be afraid of rejection when you're trying to find podcast guests. That's for sure. There are a lot of groups out there. There's a couple groups on Facebook, need a guest, find a guest, things of that nature, where you can go on and find people that way. I use it all the time. People start getting, familiar with your show, and they reach out to you. And that's kind of cool too. But what we're going to do in this course is not only teach you how to get guests, but more importantly, in our community, we're building a network of podcasters. And with that network will always come, hey, I'm looking for a particular guest on this subject. Oh, I just interviewed so-and-so. Let me forward them to you, or give you their info.
Yeah.
So we're going to create our own network in here. Not to say we're excluding anyone else, because I don't recommend that, because you're going to limit yourself. But again, this is going to be one of those things that kind of takes some time to grow.
Yeah, it will. But everybody can help grow by inviting people they've interviewed, and all that stuff inside.
Absolutely.
Just cool. And we want to do that. Finding a guest is hard. And there's some subjects that are easier than others. I mean, and I will tell you this. You can always find somebody willing to come on and let their story be heard. It's not hard. But like, for example, on this podcast, the criteria to come on this podcast, because it's a part of the Convene Community Podcast, a platform with a purpose podcast, you have to be in the platform, right? You have to be part of the platform. You have to have something going on in the platform to be a guest on this particular show. That's the goal. because we're here to highlight and help people grow. Now, last night we interviewed Matthew, and he works in, the recovery mental wellness area, and that is the mental wellness podcast. So in that one, I'm going out and looking for anybody and everybody. Doesn't matter if you have a good story, you have something you can bring to the table that can be a benefit to others. We want you, to be a part of that. So you're setting your criteria differently for different shows.
It depends on the guest that you want to get to, what your goals are, because you could try to get celebrities, you can try to get famous people, and that I'm not telling you not to do it, but the thing is that for every maybe 20 emails that I send out asking someone if they'll be a guest, I might get one.
Yeah.
One return that says, yeah, I'll do it.
Yeah.
So it takes a lot of legwork, but we're going to show you how to go about doing all that too.
That's cool.
And then I guess our next topic that's just as important. They're all important.
Yeah.
You can't have one without the other, really. But we're going to teach you the art. I'm going to teach you the art of the deal. We're going to teach you basically how to interview folks. Do's and don'ts. Some will argue there's no wrong or right way. Maybe yes, maybe no. However, do you want people to come back to your show? Well, there's probably a right way to talk to folks.
Yeah.
And we're going to teach you things, such. You got to remember when you're doing a show and you're bringing a guest on. I'm guilty of this a lot myself, especially when I first started out. I have to remember, hey, it's not about me; it's about my guest. I was really bad at that when I first started.
Yeah.
Horrible.
Yeah. Well, it's very simple. If we're talking, if you're on the Convene podcast, we want to talk about Convene. So I talk about Convene and talk about Convene. Well, I invited you on there. So it's not about me. It's about you.
Right.
Right. I mean, last night, again, just using, because I thought last night's podcast was awesome. One of the better ones we've done with Matthew, but it was about him. He's the guest. So he did easily 3/4 of the talking. And that's what you want, because that's why you brought him on.
Yeah, and let's face it, if you had a rough night the night before and you're a little bit tired, you can take a nap while they're talking, just to...
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, great, that's great. How's your dog?
Yeah.
No, but
learn to ask those open-ended questions, those who, what, when, where, why questions, and allow them to go. Let them elaborate.
Absolutely. Yeah, the closed-ended questions, the yes or no, you're going to get exactly that. So at the end of the day, when you're upset because you guys didn't talk, well, how was your interviewing technique?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
that takes practice.
It takes a lot of practice, and people are uncomfortable with it at first. And I get that. People are uncomfortable with hearing their own voices on playback. You're going to have to get over that. And yes, that is what you really sound like, in case you're wondering.
Yeah, it is.
Because that's the first question, right? Do I really sound like that?
I don't like the way I look on camera. I don't like the way that I sound. And I tell people all the time, I'm like, well, you look like what I think you look like, and you sound exactly like what I think you sound like. So that's no different. And you just have to be and here's the deal. You have to understand, people are not looking at it going, what's wrong with Doc? He looks weird. They're not even thinking that. It doesn't even cross their mind. So get out of your own way is what.
He's put on some weight. Kind of reminds me. It's very similar to when the wife or the better half asks you, honey, does this dress make me look fat? No, sweetheart, your fat makes you look fat. Get over yourself. It is what it is. You can't change it. So pull the trigger and get in there and start podcasting.
Yeah, just do it. Just do it. Get in there and you'll get better. And here's the deal. Here we go. One last thing, and then we can move on. But when you ask a question and your guest is talking, you just want to jump the gun because you're sitting there thinking, oh, I got something for that. I got something for what they just said. I got something for that. I got something for that. And you have to fight yourself. Don't do it. Let them talk. That's what you brought them there for. Let them talk. And then make your point. Give them a break. That's what you got to understand too. If they're talking a lot, they need a break. They want a break. And then it is your job to guide them to the next point. Now, if you take a quick hiatus and you say, we're talking about podcasts, and I I take a hiatus to make a point quickly about Convene and what you're doing in Convene or something about Convene, I need to go into that topic and out of that topic quick and put it right back in your lap.
It's interviewing guests. The most essential component of it is listening.
Yeah.
You have to listen. And like I tell my kids all the time is you can't listen if your mouth's flapping.
That's right.
It's impossible.
Yeah, I love it. I love it.
And you should, when you're talking and you're interviewing your guests, you should be listening, not to rebut.
Yeah.
But to understand what they're saying and say, oh, wow, that's interesting. It might not be what I feel or my views or whatever, but let's explore that more. And it will give you avenues to go down.
Yeah, correct. That's cool. But this is a skill and this is hard to do. And this is, you just got to jump in. You got to start podcasting, like you said, and then you'll get better and better and better. And go back and watch a little bit of yourself. Critique yourself.
You have to.
You have to. You got to do it, and you got to learn. Did I do well? Did I do not? Did I shut that guest down? Did I take over the show? Did I, all that? Because you can.
And let's face it, your friends, doesn't matter how well intentioned they are, they're going to lie to you. Oh yeah, I look great.
Yeah. Yeah. That's how you tell me that all the time.
Maybe you should just go to radio instead of video. Yeah.
So after the show, and I say, "Was that good, Doc?" And you're like, "Oh man, that's great tonight." You're like,
"No, you know better than that with me," and that's why I'm going to be great for teaching this course, because I'm going to tell you honestly, I'm not going to be mean about it, but if you want critique, I'm going to give you critique.
Well, yeah, and have thick skin, because it's only going to make you better.
Exactly, and that's the only goal here.
Yeah,
is to help you get better at your craft. That's it.
Yeah. And get your message out.
Yeah, I'm not going to lose any sleep.
And allow others to get your message out for you.
Yeah, see, I'm guilty of that, man. Yeah. I'm really guilty of that. I'm still working on a lot of things.
Well, I am too. We all are. You're always getting better. It doesn't matter how much you've done or how many podcasts you've done or how many videos you've done. You can always learn something. You can always get better.
For sure. No doubt. For sure.
No doubt.
But yeah, just start.
Yeah. This is an important class.
Today. Today. That's right. For only 19. No, I'm just kidding.
All right. Yeah. So then you got to get it out there.
Right.
That's not easy either.
That's really tough. I don't have enough time left in this podcast to talk about that particular subject. It's a very important one. And just by the title alone, you know what it's all about. So we're going to help you find strategies and different ways to get your show out there.
Yeah, that's good.
And all of this it's labor intensive up front.
Yeah.
But once you get it going, it's smooth.
Yeah, but then the other thing you can do, take that class, but then the other thing you can do is learn how to produce if you want to, or hire a producer.
Absolutely.
So I'll plug you here.
Whoa, wait a minute, pal.
Yeah, hey, look, it's so easy for me to do the podcast with you. I show up. We do some that's not true. We do talk normally on days of podcasts. We talk about what we're going to be doing. I send you some slides if there's going to be slides. We go over the flow. So we do prep. But as far as it comes to doing the podcast, I tell the guest to be here at 7:45 because we do it at 8 o'clock Eastern. Be here at 7:45. That gives us 15 minutes for multiple things to happen. I'll talk about the things that I do leading up to that, and you can tell everybody what you're doing as the producer. For me, it gives me a chance to just talk to the guests, make sure that we're on the same sheet of music, explain to them the flow if we haven't talked before, all the things that we've kind of talked about. All right. So we're setting the stage. We're getting everybody to relax. But, some people are nervous. Some people are nervous. You'll get guests that are very nervous. They're really nervous. And it's like, hey, it's just us. Yeah, exactly. So that's what you afford me the ability to do, to not be worried about the other stuff because you're handling everything for me. So what the heck are you doing?
So a lot like you with the guests when they first come in, what I like to do is give them basic housekeeping rules, right? This is what the show is about. This is how we're going to come in. This is how we're going to leave the show. This is what to expect. If you see little messages pop up, ignore it. It's not for you. Those kinds of things. So basic housekeeping items. But more importantly, what I do for you and everyone else is by the time you're in the show, ready to podcast, I've already got all of the platforms that we're streaming to set up and ready to go. I've got the graphics that we're going to use. I've got the music that we're going to use for the show.
If
And
you
then,
get it right.
did I or didn't I? But essentially, way to go. Take me off what I was saying.
Yeah,
Good job, pal. What the hell? Going back to that interviewing class. No, so anyway, I ensure that everything behind the scenes are running smoothly. I keep you abreast of the time. If we talked and we already know that you have segments in your show, I'm gonna prompt you to transition from segment to segment. I'm gonna let you know how many minutes are left in the show. I'm gonna let you know when to start wrapping things up. And then of course I'm gonna take us on out with the music and everything else.
Yeah. So there's a private chat down in the corner. And so what he's talking about is let's say we have 3 segments and I'm going 20, 20, and 20. So I'll get timestamps going on. He'll say, you're at 15 minutes. That's let me know that I have 5 minutes left in that segment. If I feel like we're rolling, then I might type back to him, we're going to go over. That resets the next segment. He'll give me more time, and he'll say, you're at 25 minutes, let's say, and I've gone over. So he's letting me know okay, now you've had 5 more minutes. So we're going back and forth. It's transparent to everybody outside of it, but we're going back and forth and, we're talking and things are going well that way. But that communication is key to me to transition through the different thing because I'm not watching the clock. I'm having a conversation. I'm interviewing and all that. So that's a great thing. The other things that you do, it's just transparent to me, right? It just makes it easy. I show up and I'm focused on the interview. That's what I'm focused on, which is great.
And then after the show,
yes,
we download a copy and we upload it to the social media platforms. So if you weren't able to come in and see the live show, now you've got a show that you can go back and watch. Make it easier for everyone to find. And then also, for example, some of the other clients, they have audio only portions. So we'll do a live show, but they'll have audio only portions. So then I will go back through and I'll extract the audio from the video and then we'll clean it up and we'll load it up to the multitude of platforms that are out there for podcasting.
Exactly. That's good. Very cool. Again, it makes my job easy,
There's definitely a lot of work that goes on behind the scenes. And what's great about having a podcast producer is that if you're like Matt, who barely has time to go to the bathroom, let alone anything else, all the work is done.
It is done.
He shows up and does a show and goes home.
And then boom, the next day, the video's already uploaded and everything's in there. I don't have to worry about, getting on. So for example, let me just say this, if you've used Zoom, I used to use Zoom. So I would have to say, okay, here's what's going to happen. I'm going to start Facebook, I'm going to share it over to Facebook. So I'm sitting there, we're leading up to the show and I'm in there typing the, the little, description of what's going on. I'm doing all this as we're trying to lead up to the show where with Restream and what you use, it's already done. You've done it. It's already set up. So I'm talking to the guest like I should be.
Right.
And getting ready to go. I'm not working on trying to share it out. Plus over there in, the music that plays coming in, the intro, you take care of that. I couldn't do that in Zoom if I'm just using Zoom, so that's why this is very beneficial. It's good.
Podcast producers are great for individuals that are entrepreneurs. They need to get their message out there, but they just don't have time, or let's just be honest, they're too apprehensive about getting involved in a podcast where they have to do all the work themselves.
And that's what holds people back, right?
Yeah, totally. It is a lot of work up front. And I guess some people are scared of that, but that's okay. That's where the podcast producer role is crucial to busy people.
Exactly. So you're going to teach people how they can do that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So again, ultimate goal is that, it's not just Doc producing podcasts. Other people are producing podcasts and we're getting more podcasts in the Convene community.
This is a lot like what we talked about last night. with Renee on his podcast. You would think that, hey, if I'm sitting out there teaching you how to podcast and be a producer, this, that, the other, I'm kind of shooting myself in the foot, taking business away. No, that's not what we're all about here at Convene.
Yeah, that's
not
right.
at all.
And you don't have time. You don't have time in the day to produce everybody's podcast. So there's limited time. So if you're looking for a podcast producer and you want Doc to do it, you better get on board before he's booked up.
That's right.
That's right. It's happening fast.
That's right.
So that's good. What's this last class about? I can't read it.
So this is our talking about our live seminars. So we'll teach you basically. Here we go. Can you see it better now?
I got it now. I see it.
Yeah. So we're going to teach you why you should do a live seminar, why you should do a podcasting seminar at all, and if you are interested in doing that, how do you do it?
Exactly. Is there any time that they can see a live example of that just to kind of see it?
Wow, let me think about that one. Oh, wait a minute. This Saturday, as a matter of fact.
Exactly. Convene 24 virtual. We're actually doing it. So you can actually pop in this weekend on Saturday on Facebook. We'll be running it just like you're seeing right now, but we'll run it with guests and everything. So full live schedule. But this weekend, you're going to see it. You're going to see it in action, and you're going to see how. That's what I tell people that are community leaders. I'm like, it's not always about Convene. Don't make it about Convene. If you're a community leader, Laurel is an example. I talked to her about that this week, with her community. Do your own live show. Do your own seminar. Do your own workshop. Do it live right there on social media. It can be done. And so that's but it takes work.
You know what comes to mind when you say that?
What's that?
Bill O'Reilly.
No.
Have you seen that clip?
Mm-mm.
We'll do it live.
No, I've seen that.
He freaks out on his producers in the show. He said, F it, we'll do it live. I'll write it. We'll do it live.
So yeah, that's if you're going to grow a business, build to that. Always build to that. Individual podcasts like this, they're great. Do a seminar. Set it up.
Yes. And if you don't want to do the work, I probably know somebody that will do it for you.
I know a guy.
Yeah.
Because again, everybody, this weekend, it's pretty daggone simple for me. All right. I will show up. The guests have their times that they're supposed to show up. We will do it. It'll be recorded the entire time. And this gentleman right here will take those and split them for me and put them in the YouTube.
In the freezer.
Wait,
what? Wait a minute.
Yeah.
Forget I said that. Wrong show.
Yeah. But look, we're looking for more podcasts. That's the bottom line. We want to build out this podcast community. We want to build out people coming to this community so you can find guests. And I think it's going to become a great resource. If you're somebody that's in Convene, this is where you need to be, because this is where it'll become a library of podcasts. Doesn't mean you don't still put it out on Spotify. You don't put it out on all the different places, but this is where people can come in and they can interact with you and interact with your podcast.
Yeah. If you have a show that you're currently doing, or if you know someone that is, encourage them to come to Convene and in our podcast community, because, we're going to build it. We're going to build the wall. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be strong. We're going to have networks. Don't listen to Fanny, whatever her name is over there. She's fake news. But yeah, it's going to be amazing.
Yeah, that's right. And it becomes two-way communication. So you're like, what the heck do you mean with two-way communication? Well, I can build my take my video, take my podcast. I can put it into an experience, and now my guests can actually interact with me, ask questions, make their comments. So even if they watched it, they can come in and make their comments later, the next day, 2 days, 3 days, whatever. Or if it's one that's missed, let's say it's something on podcasting. Let's say it's this one, and I have this one inside of the Convene Communities podcast group, which is in there. And somebody is like, yeah, I'd really like to podcast and all that. I'm going to say, hey, there's an experience on podcasting. Go watch it. And I'm going to send that to them, that link to go right to that session, and then go in there and they can do it. Well, then they can start collaborating. They can hit you up and say, hey, I want to take this class, and they can start talking with you. So lots of collaboration there.
Yeah.
What's going on?
If you're worried about the price, don't be. I'm not out. It's just budget friendly. I promise.
Yeah. Well, and that's one of the things I love, Doc, is you have the big mission in line, in mind, in line. You see the big picture, of growing something special, but you're also smart enough to know that, you can teach classes on it and make money. And that helps you, augment everything, make money with teaching the classes. Then you can, offer cheaper prices.
For sure. And all this podcasts and stuff ain't cheap.
No.
It's really not. It brings up a great point. And we go over that in the classes of what it takes monetarily to start and run a podcast. There are some definitely free sites out there, but you're limited to the amount of data and storage that you can put on there. So, if your plan is, I want to do a podcast a week and it's an hour long, some of the free sites you'll get maybe two, and then you'll have to pay for the service to increase your storage. So we'll talk about all that stuff.
Yeah, that's right.
Ain't nothing free. Is what they say.
That's right. But it's a business builder. If you come up with the right business plan, and think of your podcast as a marketing tool, as a business building tool, then yeah. I mean, you bring guests on and they're sharing it out to their network. You're only getting more and more exposure. Even if it's about interviewing them, you're still getting more and more exposure.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. And we want to see all kinds of podcasts in our community, and the key to remember is that even if that show's not your forte, you don't have to listen to it, but you can still support the rest of us in the community.
Yeah.
By talking about it.
And when you meet somebody and they, hey, go see this, Nothing's Off the Table. It's a great podcast. He just interviewed an author that's talking about exactly what you're talking about, and you push somebody to it.
That's right.
Yeah.
And it's just, like you said earlier, it'll be a great library because there will be something for everyone there eventually.
Yeah. But we need your help. We want to grow this. So if you're somebody who's creating content creator, you have a podcast, come join us. Really, come join us. If you're in Convene already and you haven't started your podcast, we're waiting. Start it. It's going to help you grow your business.
Wait, I didn't see I thought the drill instructor was going to come out there for a minute.
Yeah, I was about to.
Yeah, I saw the hand coming up.
How about give you a General Mattis knife edge hand,
Right after you knock your microphone out of the way. Hey, there he is.
Dude, I mean, seriously, look at is like everybody, if you didn't see, I had to do CPR. I do a CPR class, right? 30-2. What does that mean? 30-2, Doc.
Compression on a gas compression engine.
To 2 breaths, 30 compression, 2 breaths. Yeah.
Hey man, I'm retired. I don't care about none of that stuff anymore. I just call 911 like the rest of you.
I just pray I never have to do CPR on anybody inside of an airplane or anything. It's just not. I've seen.
Yeah, because who's flying then?
Well, I've seen CPR done too many times as an air medical pilot. It's not a pretty thing.
No,
it's not.
It's brutal.
It's good enough. It is brutal, but it's we can do a class on podcast on that. But it's yeah, it's a good thing to know though.
For sure.
And my brother was at a golf course one time, and this man was putting his golf clubs up and just just fell over, and my brother knew CPR, started CPR on him, and they got there, and it's a good thing he knew CPR, because if he hadn't, that hey, 1 minute you're playing golf, putting your golf clubs up, next minute you have a heart attack.
It's important.
Yeah, it is very important.
I've done it CPR class many times for real. It's life saving. It
is life saving. It's also not pretty.
And you can sing the Bee Gees in your head while you're doing it.
Well, yeah, you can do that. I can't remember what song they taught us.
Staying alive.
That's right. Staying alive. That's exactly right. It was Staying Alive. Yeah, it was Staying Alive. And they said, but don't get into and you slow down.
That's exactly why I go into that, so I can slow down, catch a breather.
Well, I've watched guys do. I'm going to tell you this in the helicopter. Well, I don't know why we're going off on a tangent on CPR, but I've watched dudes for 20 minutes. Like, we're flying CPR 20 minutes. And by the time we fly the 20 minutes, we get to the hospital and they're getting out, and it doesn't stop there because they got to get, all the way to the ED and everything. They look like they've run a marathon.
Oh, it's brutal, man.
Sweating. and they're pouring. It's amazing.
Your adrenaline is going 1,000 miles an hour, man, and you can't help it. It's crazy.
Yeah,
it's a rush.
That would be a good podcast to do with first responders and air medical pilots, like the things you've seen. I could do podcasts on that. It's 659 page flights. I could tell you some stories. Oh my God.
You don't have time.
I know. I know. But I would like that podcast. Somebody start a podcast talking about that stuff.
Speaking of time is money.
Yeah.
And speaking of money, if you look up in that little left corner, I never do this. I never promote myself. But tonight, since we're talking podcasting and, keys to being successful, check out that little donate tab up there. $1 or $2. That's all I'm asking. I just need help with running this show.
And ladies and gentlemen, that's how he keeps it cheap, on the cheaper side for you and for me and for everybody, is taking the donations. He'll keep the prices down. So if something you find in the kindness of your heart, give him a little donation.
Yeah. Hook a brother up. It's cold outside.
Yeah, he's trying to eat. He's trying to feed the family.
Right.
Trying to feed the family.
I got children to raise.
All right. Well, this is a good podcast. I appreciate it. A podcast on podcasting. I appreciate you and everything you do for Convene. I will tell you that you set a mark, because I'm extremely impressed that let me back up. It did take you 3 years and 11 months and 2 weeks to get going, but you've gotten going the last 2 weeks and you've built a tremendous amount. So it proves that once you get it in your mind and you get started, you can get going. One of the things that we talked about the other night, texting back and forth, is it doesn't get built overnight. You came out of the gate and you built hard, built things and really got going, but you got to pace yourself as well, and we talked about that today. What you did in Convene today was wonderful. What did you do today?
Man, I did absolutely nothing.
But you needed the break, right?
I sure did.
Yeah.
So, I'm glad you brought that up, because the course is still in its infancy stage. Mm-hmm. The platform, the foundation is set, and we will continue to enhance on that foundation. We're going to put up walls. We're going to maybe get a roof and maybe get some curtains, some carpet, furniture. Yeah. It's going to be your podcasting home.
It's going to be built over time. So that's what you got to do. You got to keep building and keep building and keep building. So what I'm here to tell everybody, if you're interested in podcasting, you even think you have an interest in podcasts, have a meeting with this man, get in touch with him, talk to him about it, because he'll really explain some things, and go take his classes and just become part of this. Get out of your way.
Yes.
Quit being scared. Get out of your way.
Pull the trigger.
And don't worry about how you look. Don't worry about how you sound. I look and sound just as bad as I look and sound, but people listen.
It's true. It's very true.
It is true.
We don't care what you look or sound like.
That's right.
Because we deal with you when we see you every day. And yes, like I said earlier, that is what you really sound like. And it's okay.
It is okay.
And you know what? I'll tell you this too. You will get to the point where it doesn't bother you anymore.
No, it doesn't. It really doesn't.
Nope.
I could care less.
Right. I couldn't care less, but you might be able to care less. I don't know. Anyway, hey, let's wrap it up.
Well, let's wrap it up. Are you going to play the right music on the way out tonight? Let's see.
I don't know. Is that part of podcasting?
It is.
Oh, look at that.
Have a great night. We'll see you next week at a great Tuesday night interview for the Minute Louder. And we'll come back.